Lots happening, lots to get through. I want to take it up with the man who would be Deputy Prime Minister, the Nationals leader, David Littleproud, joining me here on the desk. Good to see you, David.
Yeah, good to be with you.
First up, Malcolm Turnbull. Is he deliberately trying to undermine Australia's chances of getting a tariff exemption?
Well, look, I'm surprised President Trump even acknowledged any words that he uttered, to be candid with you. But when you look at it, I think the real threat has been Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd. Both have made disparaging remarks about President Trump previously. And there's no way in the world that President Trump, when he gets a brief on AUKUS or on trade with Australia, that those comments aren't put in front of him by an advisor. They're paid to give him that advice about what the leader of Australia has said about him previously and what their current ambassador has said. And so we're in a predicament. And we have a compelling case to get a carve-out, one that we got in 2018.
Yeah.
We now handed over a cheque for nearly $800 million for the first down payment on submarines. You would have thought that's a fair instalment on Australia being carved out. That's despite the fact that the United States enjoys a very large trading surplus with Australia. Not that we're worried about that. This has been a mutually beneficial arrangement.
So why wouldn't Anthony Albanese be on the blower to Donald Trump? Or why wouldn't Richard Marles be going to Washington? The Trade Minister, Don Farrell, he's not even in Washington. We're leaving it up to Kevin Rudd. Is there anybody in the Labor cabinet who actually trusts that Rudd's the one to deliver for them?
Well, there's just no sense of urgency or understanding the impact this will have on Australia, and the fact that there is an opportunity for us to leverage the position that we've been able to garner in a bipartisan way for generations with the United States. And the fact that there's no urgency about the Trade Minister sitting back in Adelaide rather than on a plane to the United States, talking to the US trade advisor and putting him straight on some of these facts. We're prepared to do whatever. We believe this should be bipartisan. This should be about Team Australia. But unfortunately, we've got a lot to make up when we've got three key players that have been out and are still coming out making disparaging comments when we want to return to the world order of free trade. It's done Australia well, it's done the United States well, and we should return to that. And that should be our premise of everything we say and do in this country and in the United States.
Now, I'm not going to pretend I don't have strong views about the Home Affairs Minister, Tony Burke. I think he's been negligent and, he's just been missing in action when it comes to anti-Semitism over the past 18 months. We know he was also negligent with others in not having proper security checks for people given visas from Gaza, no less. Yet now he's out there, and we also know the strife they've had keeping criminal non-citizens in detention. So an absolutely appalling record. Yet today he accuses Peter Dutton and the coalition of amping up the caravan of explosives story.
Well, this is beyond desperate. They've gone beyond desperation as a Labor Party in trying to tear down Peter Dutton. They'll do anything to tear down his character. The Australian people want strong leadership and they want ideas. But when you get that desperate, when you actually orchestrate to say that Peter Dutton didn't ask for a briefing, in fact, the briefing was provided to the coalition, and never was the words uttered to him that this wasn't anything other than terrorism. In fact, the Prime Minister and the State Premier of New South Wales both said this was an act of terror. Now, why would you go back and politicise that? This is just an act of political desperation by Tony Burke, and it's not what the Australian people want. They expect us to be better and bigger than that. And I can tell you, Peter Dutton has someone that has integrity, but also has a track record in keeping Australians safe. And when you've got people that will do this nation harm, and it's people harm, you want someone strong. Not someone weak, not someone that cower in the corner and make stuff up. You want someone that's going to stand by the Australian people and make sure you're kept safe and make sure the facts are used.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with anyone talking down the seriousness of this issue, though. Yeah. There were explosives, there was criminal intent, and we need to know a hell of a lot more, and we should be deeply worried about it. I just want to go to another issue related to climate and energy, and let's start off by showing you what the former Liberal Treasurer of New South Wales told the ABC last night. Have a look.
I'm not anti-nuclear, but I am anti-nonsense. And the reality is, you talk about private investment. Well, there's no private investors knocking down anyone's door to build a nuclear reactor. In fact, under Peter Dutton's nuclear plan, it won't be the national energy market, it will be the nationalised energy market because it will only be funded by the government. Now, I forgot when the Liberal Party decided to be socialist in how it operates.
The Liberal Party are socialists. Now, he leaves out the point, of course, that the industry is banned in this country at the moment. Hard to invest in it when it's banned.
A small detail that Matt Keane likes to forget is that there's a moratorium, and that's one of the first things we'll do. We're not interested in big multinationals coming in, cleaning up for 10, 15 years, leaving a scar on our landscape and then going away with their profits. We actually want to get an energy grid that in the short term will bring down your energy bill and your food bill because they're intertwined, and that's by flooding this market with gas, getting gas going into the grid, but the long term is getting baseload power with nuclear, putting it where coal-fired power stations are, so that we don't need the transmission lines that Matt Keane's talking about to have this all renewables approach. And what Matt, I don't watch Q&A, but I'm sure he disclosed that he's a director of an investment fund that is heavily into renewables, and
We've certainly disclosed that for him on the show previously, but yeah, he stands to make a buck out of renewables.
Well,
right?
and so too do many that are propagating much of what they're trying to get out of this country. What we're saying is the Australian people can own this. This can be a return and a legacy, a long-term legacy in going to nuclear energy.
So you're not socialists, you're pragmatists.
We're pragmatists. The old Nats are sometimes agrarian socialists.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, David. Good to have you here in the flesh.
Thanks,
David Littleproud.